Welcome to the Breech Birth Podcast. I'm Sasha Hopkins, private midwife, breech birth educator, and your host. This is a space to hear the real, raw, and powerful stories of women who have experienced breech birth in all its layers. Each episode features honest conversations with women who've experienced breech firsthand, offering insight and reflection. This podcast was born from the knowing that these stories need to be heard, to inform, connect, and reclaim the story of breech birth. Whether you're navigating breech birth yourself, supporting others, or simply curious, welcome and thank you. Hi, Faith. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
So before you jump into your story, we're going to do a couple of context questions. Could you share whereabouts you are located?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
So you had twins that were
I
both
did.
breech initially. So how many weeks were you when you had them?
Exactly 37 weeks.
Amazing. And what sort of care did you receive during your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum?
I had midwife care, and then I had to do shared care with an OB to deliver them.
Beautiful. And did you have a vaginal or cesarean birth for the twins?
Vaginal for both babies.
Beautiful. So before we jump into your story, do you want to share just a little snapshot about yourself to give the listeners an idea of who you are?
Sure. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 3 boys. My first son was born at home, the most peaceful, beautiful home birth. And then 4 months postpartum, I got pregnant with twins. So I ended up having 3 babies under 13 months. And my twins were born at hospitals. So ideally, I would have wanted to have a home birth. But in Canada, we're not allowed to birth twin babies at home. So I was forced into hospital with midwives supporting me, but OBs leading in the hospital.
So let's jump into the story then. So you mentioned you've had a baby before that. They were a head down baby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to just give a little snapshot of what that journey looked like, what kind of care you received? And you've already mentioned that you had a home birth.
Yeah. So I received midwife care, and I went into labor at 41 weeks and 3 days, and my water broke suddenly, and my baby wasn't born till 53 hours after my water broke. We allowed him to have all the time he wanted, no rush, no intervention. We just waited as long as there was no sign of infection. So he was born in our living room in the water, peaceful, beautiful. It was such a beautiful birth.
Amazing. What a great way to
Yeah.
start your journey as a mother.
Yes, it was so nice.
Yeah. And so you fell pregnant with twins. Have you got twins in the
Yeah,
family?
I do. So every third generation in my family has twins,
Wow.
but typically it's the first baby. So I was like, it's not going to be me, maybe my
Yeah.
sister. And then sure enough, we got pregnant with, twin boys 4 months postpartum.
And identical, not identical?
Fraternal. So we were told at birth they were di twins, meaning 2 placentas, 2 sacs. But actually, like, we're going to jump a little bit ahead, but at birth, we ended up only having 1 placenta. So to this day, we don't know if it's fused or not.
Yeah, they can fuse, but then usually with a di, they'll still have a separate sac in between the two. Didn't have that?
We decided not to do extra testing, and I just left it as is.
Okay, awesome. All right, so do you want to start from the beginning? I'm guessing you probably were keen for another home birth before knowing you were having
Yeah.
twins. What did that look like when you discovered you were having twins and what the changes looked like?
Right? The minute I found out I was pregnant, I contacted the same midwife because she was wonderful, instantly signed the paperwork, got on board with them, and then we went for an ultrasound at 12 weeks and found out it was twins. So because we signed the paperwork, she said, typically I would have to drop you and you would be stuck with an OB. But in this circumstances, we're going to do shared care. So up till 35 weeks, I'll be with a midwife. Then we'll get on with an OB. They'll deliver your baby. And then after birth, I go back to the midwives. And then they attended the birth too.
Okay, cool. So you still got continuity at least. They were able to be there at the birth.
Exactly.
Yeah. And did they work closely with the OB?
They did. So both my babies were breech and no OB wanted to take us on. So typically you find an OB around like 30 weeks, but I kept on searching for someone that would accept me and want to deliver both babies vaginally. But it was a big struggle. So we found someone at 35 and a half weeks, and she said she would do it. The hospital didn't love the idea, but if that's something I really wanted, she was going to support me. So the midwife had never worked with her either, and that wasn't a hospital they typically had privileges in, but they were accepted and they got privileges accepted. So that allowed
Just want to check the wording because it's probably a bit different to what we used to hear. So privileges, does that mean that they admit you as a private patient and provide care to you in that setting?
So some midwives can work at certain hospitals and they can just deliver the baby for you with no OB. But at the hospital I was at, they didn't have that right, but was given the privileges to at least attend. They were told they were mental support, but could not catch or deliver baby. They were just,
The non-clinical role. Okay.
yes, exactly. More like a doula.
That's interesting. So they had to get approval just to attend your birth in that setting.
Yeah.
I mean, they're acting, I guess, a bit like a doula, but still in that midwifery role, but they had to get permission? Wow.
Yeah, and I really wanted the midwife because I know at the end of the day, I didn't know if I was going to have an OB to support me. So at least they were there and they could step in and because they'd have delivered breech. So,
Yeah. And so you said that both babies were breech. At what
yes,
point did you know how many weeks were you? Did you know that both were breech?
they had been breech from the very get go. They were never head down. At 34 weeks, baby A flipped head down. We thought, okay. And they said that as long as baby A was head down, they were completely okay with me delivering naturally. Next week, he was back bum and he never flipped.
That's amazing that they have enough space to be able to do that at that point as well.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, they were really crammed in there. And then baby B ended up flipping head down at 36 weeks and 5, the day before I went into labor.
Wow.
So baby A's breech and baby B's head down now.
Okay. And so how was that? Because I know often with baby A breech and baby B head down, they talk about the interlocking of the heads. So how was that received by the OB and the midwife?
They said my option was a C-section. And I said, well, that's not really what I envision, and I would really like to go naturally. So she said, that's a little iffy, but if that's what you truly want, okay.
Okay, that's good. Had they done any training with like Breech Without Borders or anything? The
Yeah,
doctor?
so she had done breech
Right.
before, but she had never done breech twins. So she was more comfortable with a singleton. But she also was on a team of like, I'm not sure how your hospitals work, but she was on a team of 10 people. So it wasn't guaranteed that I was going to have her when I went into labor. And she said she was okay with it. She was going to try to get other people on board, but she couldn't promise anything. But the hospital was all aware of my case, my story. They knew what was happening.
Yeah, okay. And before we jump into birth and everything beginning from there, did you do any mental preparation or education for yourself around breech and
Yeah,
twins in general?
I educated myself completely because I knew I was going in with a fight. And if they weren't going to deliver my baby, I was going to deliver. So I educated myself on all positions, maneuvers. I had my husband learning. I was going in knowing that I was birthing them naturally because that's our body's ability to do.
Yeah. What sort of stuff did you look at?
Breach Without
Yeah.
Borders. All my midwife gave me a big package. They actually ended up going and doing an extra course for me that specialized in learning about twins. And then they taught me about everything. So it was really wonderful that they went and got extra knowledge in case we were alone because they were comfortable helping me in the hospital, but they weren't willing to do it at home and risk their license.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so baby A is now breech, baby B is now head down, and you go into labor. How did that all start?
So 37 weeks exactly, I decided I was going to pump. My water
Yep.
broke instantly. So I'm
Okay.
like, we're in labor.
Just for those listening who are unsure of what pumping means, we're talking about expressing.
Yeah, I was just collecting colostrum for the babies. And I thought, if I breastfed my last one till like 5 months pregnant, I'll be fine. No, it broke it. So clearly babies were ready. So my plan was to labor at home as long as possible, but I was GBS positive. So the
Okay.
midwives were like, we're really not comfortable with this. Can we go into hospital and at least check and make sure your water's actually broken? So I agreed to go into the intake.
Mhm.
So we get there, they confirm my water's broken. And they're like, "Hey, we're gonna get you ready for your C-section." And I said, no, I would like to deliver them naturally. Here's my birth plan." So they read it and they're like, "Oh no, that's not happening. You're going for a C-section." I said, "Unfortunately, I'm not doing that. This is my body, my right. And if you're not comfortable, go find someone else."
Great. Well done.
This is not the OB. This is just the nurse admitting me. So
Yep.
she says, "Okay, well, I'm going to talk to the OB and we'll see you soon." I said, okay. So we wait there 2 hours. I'm having contractions, but it's not consistent. And they say I'm at 4 centimeters. So doctor comes in and he whips open the curtain and he says,
Not the
I'm
doctor
not,
that you've been talking to.
no, this is the OB on call. And I had asked for my OB. They said, she's not on today. This is who you're dealing with. So he whips open the curtain and he says, we're not doing this today. You're causing me a lot of headache. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but we are doing this. And he says, your choices are you're going to have a C-section or your husband's going to deliver your two babies dead and I'm going to watch.
Oh my God, that is disgusting. I'm so
So the
sorry.
whole room is like silent. The midwives don't know what to say. And my husband says, if you can't provide us the care we need, get out and go find someone that can.
Mm.
So he leaves, and the nurse comes in and says, he's denying us care, and I can sign that I'm going against recommendation, but I have to know that none of us are making it home tonight, and my husband's going home a widow. So I said, well, that's not true. I'm educated. I feel confident. I'll sign that I'm going against recommendation. Okay, go find me someone else. So they send me into the hallway and they tell me I can walk around, I can labor, whatever. So I come back 2 hours later. I'm like, can I have a room? Nope, we're still looking for someone. 2 hours later, can I have a room? Nope, we still don't have anyone. You have to be in active labor. And because I wasn't 5 centimeters and my contractions weren't consistent enough, they still wouldn't give me a room. So back to laboring into the intake room. So I tell them if they're not going to give me a room, I'm leaving and I'll go somewhere else. Like I'll find someone else to deliver me. Well, they tell me if I leave, they're calling CPS. So now I'm like in a position of what do I do? So the midwife's like, we're just going to stay here. We don't need to do that. We don't need this headache. We'll stay here and we'll help you. We'll deliver the baby. So now shift has changed and a new doctor's on. And it's actually the lady that I've been waiting for. It's my OB.
Good.
I finally am like, yes, she's going to help me. And she comes and she's like, you should really go for the C-section. And I'm like, what? I thought you were like going to support me. And she says, my hands are tied. I can't help you now. So she said, the head nurse won't give you a room until you're in active labor, so you can just keep on chilling out in the hallway. So we're now at probably 18 hours of me still being in the hallway, laboring in front of everyone coming and going. My contractions are now picking up. They check again. I'm still at 4 centimeters.
So they have an assessment room or something where they.
Yes, I just keep on going into the intake room and they check and then they send me into the hallway. So it's now 7:30 and
And your midwife is there supporting you in
my
the hallway.
midwife is
Yeah.
there, but their hands are tied because they're only mental support. They can't deliver. So it's 7:30 and they tell me at 8 o'clock shift change happens. So I can ask the new head nurse, maybe she'll give me a room. But I'm like, Kay, are you sure? My contractions are picking up. Babies, like, they're like, you're laughing, you're talking, you're fine. You're maybe 5 centimeters. Go sit down. 8 o'clock hits, and I said to my husband, the baby's going to be born here. You need to go get someone. So they pull me back, and I said, for people so worried about breech birth, you guys are sure chill about
Mm.
me being in the intake room. So they do an assessment and they're like, oh my gosh, baby's bum here and you're 8 centimeters. So they're all freaking out. They're like, how do you go from 4 centimeters to 8 centimeters? So they're like, okay, you got to get up and walk. They're like, you finally get a room. So I get in the hall and they're like, okay, so you don't get a room. Your only option is the OR. And I'm like, I really don't want to deliver in the OR. And they're like, too bad. This is where you're going. So I walk into the OR and I have 20 people in there, a whole crowd, and baby's descending. He's coming. And they said, are you sure you don't want a C-section? I said, baby's right here. And they're like, we prefer a C-section. Just so you know, you're not going to meet your son. This is the team that's going to be resuscitating him. Are you sure? And I'm like,
That's insane. Like, you are an incredibly strong woman.
and if it didn't come from my mouth, they didn't listen to my midwife. They didn't listen to my husband. They did not care. So they're like, get up on the bed. You have to be on your back. I'm held on my back. And I'm like, Kate, breech birth is extremely dangerous on your back. Like any position is better than your back. They're like, nope, we need to be able to see. So I'm stuck on my back and they want to do coach pushing. I tell them no. I said to my husband, I whispered to him, I said, I'm going to push silently. I don't want them doing a breech extraction. I don't want them pulling on baby, nothing. I'm going to push and I'm going to give you a look when like baby's going to be coming. So his testicles come out. They're all like, baby's here. 2 seconds later, fetal injection comes and baby comes flying out. The OB has no gloves. The whole room's like, they're all shocked. They've never seen a birth. And they're like, they throw baby up on my belly and he's super purple. So I was like a little concerned. And they're like, he's fine. Like they're disappointed.
Hmm.
But baby was fine, crying, beautiful, easy, no issues. And the OB stands up and she's like, wow, I've never seen such an easy breech birth. I said, imagine what happens when you stay hands off,
Yeah.
unmedicated, and just let the body do what it's meant to do. Yeah. And she said that in that room of all the nurses, they have never seen a breech birth, let alone a twin birth. And I'm plus size. So they've never even seen someone my size be able to do that. So we made a lot of people learn that the body is amazing.
Wow. That was a very intense experience. I'm so sorry that
It
you had
was.
to deal with that. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
It is. And I thought I was going in for a fight. I didn't realize the type of fight because they're also the whole time shoving me with fear mongering and all these things. And you have to silent it out and trust your intuition, trust your ability, and keep on continuing.
Yeah, you did amazing. You need fucking medal.
Right? I'm glad that people got to see that and nurses, they were really horrible to me. And I hope that next time they have another mom come in, they aren't so scared and they can treat her better, that they've learned that the body's amazing because they were all told this wasn't even possible. Like, I cannot believe they were planning our death.
Yeah. What kind of education is being shared in that setting for them to only believe that that's the only outcome?
Hor-
And so, okay, so baby came to your chest and they were well,
Yeah,
which is great, amazing.
everything's great. And they took him instantly to my husband and they said, he can do the skin to skins. Baby went to my husband and they check and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna break your water." Wasn't even asked. They broke my water instantly for baby B.
Okay, so if they had to break water for
They
baby,
had 2 sec.
yes, okay.
Yeah, so my water breaks and my contractions stop. They say I go back to 8 centimeters, and I
Mm.
kinda just, yeah, wait there.
Are you still
And
on your back on the bed?
I'm still on my back.
Yeah.
So they made me stay on my back for an hour and a half, refusing to let me up. And they are trying to give me oxytocin. They're telling my baby's heart rate's delaying. And I said, well, get me off my back and baby's heart rate's going to go up. So suddenly this nurse comes in and she says, I'm here to help you. Do you want to get off your back? And I'm like, yes, thank you. And she says, I'm a home birth mom too. I'm going to help you get this baby out naturally. She got me up. She let me go for a walk in the OR. So we're still in the OR, but she let me get up. She got the peanut ball and that kicked everything into gear. So we're now 2.5 hours and transition hits again. I go through transition with baby. We also don't know baby B's position at this point. I didn't let them do an ultrasound because they told me if he was breached, they were doing a C-section and I wasn't going for another fight. So I just decided to stay in the dark and knew my body was capable. So go into transition and I'm on my hands and knees. The OB comes in. She says, get on your back. And the nurse says, no, she can stay in this position. So baby was born and he was ended up being born head down still 3.5 hours later.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank goodness for that nurse that came in.
Right? I'm so thankful for
The
her.
That's what you need is a bit of gravity, and technically your cervix is open, so if you're upright, the next baby can come down and put pressure and hold that cervix open and then move into that next birth.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm so thankful for her.
Wow, what a story. So did that baby go to your chest?
Yes, he went to my chest, and then they're
Okay.
like, "Okay, you gotta get out of the OR. We have we have a
We don't know
C-section."
why you're even here. Why
Yeah,
did you
right?
come here?
So, yeah, they kicked us out right away, and we ended up going to, postpartum, and then, yeah.
Amazing. And so birthing the placenta, did you do that in the OR?
Yeah, in the OR right after the second baby, and that's when they found out that it was fused or
Yeah, a lot of the time they do fuse, particularly when they're close together. So how long were you in the hospital before you decided to go home?
So they took both twins to the NICU and I discharged myself at that exact moment. I thought, I'm not dealing with this care if I don't need to.
As in you discharged you and the babies or just yourself?
Just myself. I wasn't allowed to take the babies, unfortunately. So the excuse was for baby A, they claimed babies under 5 pounds can't be with mom. So he was born 4 pounds, 10 ounces. And then the second baby was born 6 pounds, so he was allowed to be with
Yeah.
me, but they were being difficult in the nursery because they had heard our story. And they're like, oh, he's kind of having breathing issues. We should call the NICU. And the NICU's like, well, do you want us to take him? The lady's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with them. So he ended up going. And then the minute you're in the NICU, you have to now reach the feeding requirement. So my baby A, that had no issues, that was only 4 pounds, suddenly had to stay and be admitted because he had to reach the feeding requirements before we could go home, and he had to be 5 pounds.
So what's the feeding requirements?
Him reaching 5 pounds. So
Oh,
they
that's
wanted
it.
him to eat a certain amount every single day till he got there. And then his brother was the same. So we were there 2.5 weeks.
But his brother was already over the 5. They wanted him
Yes,
to do
he wasn't eating enough and he wasn't maintaining his birth weight.
okay, yeah. So how long did they end up being in NICU for?
2.5 weeks.
Okay. How far is that a drive from your house?
So what ended up happening is the next day when I went to check on my twins, they ended up transferring them 2 hours away to a different hospital, claiming they needed the
Without
room.
talking to you?
Yep.
Oh my
That was
god.
their punishment to me. I think they were honestly so upset that they didn't get what they wanted. They
Yeah,
transferred us. Like they claim it was for the room, but they were really upset. I was very upset at the time, but honestly, it was the best thing changing hospitals. The nurses didn't know our story. They didn't have a bias to us. We were treated with respect. Our babies were treated good.
okay.
So it ended up working out. But yeah, the hospital was so cruel. And we
Yeah.
ended up trying to report the OB. The midwife went to the head of board and they said, because you went against recommendation, there's nothing we can do.
Wow, who knew a piece of paper could protect people so well? I don't think that works in
Right?
my world.
I signed my rights away basically. So that was
Yeah,
their
that's crazy.
justification to treat me like crap.
Oh my goodness. I just have so much to say, but I will hold my tongue.
Right? Yeah, it is very frustrating.
Mm, it's disgusting. I mean, I just don't
It
understand
is.
how people can work as a healthcare practitioner when they treat people that way. Like, why are you in this industry? If you don't like people, then don't work in this space.
Yeah. Well, I think some OBs are surgeons over like care.
Yeah.
They like
Yeah.
to operate over deliver babies, and that shouldn't be the case.
No, no, they should probably be doing some other kind of surgery, not in
Absolutely.
obstetrics, because that's not how it works. Oh dear. Okay. Did you get to breastfeed the twins?
I didn't. So they wouldn't let me do that in the NICU.
They wouldn't let you breastfeed them.
Nope. So both babies had a feeding tube. So they told me my option was pumping. So I pumped. I gave them lots of milk, got home, and decided it wasn't worth pumping with 3 kids under 13
It's a
months.
lot. Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
really
yeah, we
hard.
ended up doing formula. And yeah, it was the best thing for my mental health. I have no regrets on that.
No, that's totally understandable. Feeding 2 babies, let alone having to pump and travel 2 hours into a nursery and 2 hours home.
Exactly. But what was wonderful that I left out is the Ronald McDonald House let us stay
Mhm.
right beside where the babies were in the NICU. So we never had to travel. We were there every night. My mom kept my oldest, and they were so amazing. We can't thank that organization enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good that they have that set up.
Yeah, because yeah, we were 2.5 hours from the
Mm,
NICUs.
big. Yeah. So once you got home, how was that? What did that feel like to just be in your home and space with your babies?
It was stressful. Like my first son, I connected to him instantly. We had this bond. And I came home to the twins and I said to my husband, are these our babies? And
Mm,
I had so much guilt that I didn't feel this instant connection, but I didn't get any golden hour. I didn't get to see my babies. They were taken instantly. And my breech baby, actually, that my husband got to hold for 3 hours, he ended up thinking my husband was mom. So they said that's in such a rare case when mom passes away, they give him to dad. But in my case, he never really got to know me. So he went instantly to dad. and then went to the NICU. So he was trying to breastfeed from my husband, only wanted him. So that made the relationship even harder when he just refused to go to me. But the other baby and I had an easier bond, and that was nice.
Yeah. And how have you gone with building that bonding? Because how old are they now?
They just turned 2 last week.
Yeah. So you've had time. Have you worked through that? Have you needed to do any counseling?
Yeah, I did lots of therapy. I ended up having to do Reiki and all that kind of stuff to cleanse the energy in the womb. And as they got older, I found a connection easier. But in the baby stage, it's honestly such a blur from being up with 2 babies all night and the disconnection. But yeah, as they got older and I found something to connect with them. And now I have an amazing bond. I love them all. Yeah, it was a hard year, but we're finally out of survival mode and we're thriving.
You've done amazing. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a hard fight, but I have 0 regrets and I would do it all over again to birth naturally. Like a C-section is a hard surgery to heal from, and our bodies are amazing. And like there's absolutely a time and a place, but I'm going to avoid it if I can.
Yeah. And you've got to cater into the potential risk factors in the future if you choose to have more children as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love one more. Definitely a home birth.
Yeah. Yeah. If that baby ended up being breech, can your midwife support you in your area?
They don't love it, but they will, yes. And what was amazing actually about our birth is they went back to their clinic and then ended up training all the midwives in Breech. And then they ended up going to the Alberta Midwife Association. So our whole province went and all the midwives got a Breech training. So this never happens to another woman and they can be supported and stand, because that was an issue, is the midwife didn't even know how to vouch for me because we had never seen such aggression. So now they've all gotten courses, they're trained in Breech, they can step in, and we have a way better system for other moms.
So the way that you described that and the fact that you wasn't ideal, you burst in the OR, but you also created this experience for all these people that had never witnessed it. And hopefully that does change for future
Yes, I hope
women.
so.
So it's the positive aspect to look from it.
Right? And that's what I tried to take out of it is there's a lot of hurt, but there's so much good that came out of it. And if it had to be me, I'm strong enough to do it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that for other women
Yeah.
and for yourself. So before we finish, having the experience that you've had and knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would do differently in future, whether it's a singleton or twins?
I think definitely I'd birth at home. That was my biggest thing. I think the breech birth went flawlessly, other than not on my back. I now have consistent hip pain, and I 100% think it's from birthing the breech baby on my back. So I would do hands or knees, let gravity stand up, but yeah, definitely not on my back.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with anyone that's listening that might have breech baby on board or twins with the breech baby?
Well, I think you are so much stronger than you think. And when you think you can't do it, you'll find all the strength that you need to do it. And if you need that doula, get the person to vouch for you. You don't have to be the person fighting that fight if you can't. It's totally okay. Have your husband do it, have your mom, whoever you need. You do whatever you need to have that support and birth the way you want because you are capable.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Breech Birth podcast. These stories matter. They stretch what we think we know and bring voice to experiences that need to be heard. I'm so grateful to the women who have shared their experiences with us, raw, real, and full of wisdom. If this episode resonated with you, please follow, share, or leave a review. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Breech Birth Podcast. And if you have a breech story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, may we continue to reclaim the narrative, one story at a time.